You knew it by the smell. The mimeograph machine had a distinct fragrance, if you want to call it that couldn't be denied. The benchmark of schools everywhere back in the day, the smell meant homework, assignments, and handouts, amongst other things. Long before Google was a thing and online classrooms were the norm, teachers had to do things the old-fashioned way. They had to print off multiple forms and documents and physically hand them out to their class participants. Also known as a Ditto Machine or stencil duplicator, the mimeograph was a simple device that dominated classrooms for a large part of the 20th century. The key to this simple yet effective piece of vintage technology was that it forced ink through a stencil onto paper. That was it. Simple, right? Yet so effective and, to those of us who lived through its heyday, unforgettable, largely because of the smell. Basically, the mimeograph machine used a coated fiber sheet through which ink was pressed. Employing a typewriter with the ribbon shifted out of the way so that the keys wouldn't strike it, the information that was to be duplicated was typed onto the stencil. The keys cut the coating on the stencil and exposed the fiber base, making it possible for ink to pass through it, and voila, your copies were made. Early versions of the mimeograph machine can be credited to Thomas Edison, yes, that Thomas Edison, who, in 1885, sold what he called his electric pen machine to Albert Blake Dick in 1876. Dick had invented the mimeograph stencil, and between the two of them came up with what eventually became the modern mimeograph duplicating machine. In its heyday between the 1950s and the 1970s, the machine was the only way to print and distribute copies of school assignments to students, much to the appreciation of teachers everywhere. Sure, it was messy. And yes, it was smelly, very smelly. And yet, that distinct smell is now a distant memory, but one that evokes memorable times at school during an era that is now just that, a memory and nothing more. It was also very messy, with the mimeograph's hallmark ink stains on clothes and skin, just one of its many memorable features. Students today take for granted the fact that their classroom is largely virtual. I mean, come on, Google Classrooms, Google Docs, assignments in the cloud, and video supports to lessons. These were all things that we couldn't have even dreamed of back in the day. Yet they're standard, and the way that we did things not too long ago is no longer the norm and never will be again. To the younger generations, messy, smelly mimeograph machines may sound like some type of archaic relic of the past that is thankfully retired to the annals of history. For those who lived through its heyday, however, it's a much missed reminder of another time. If you have any retro memories that you'd like to share, or if you have an idea for a retro memory or for the show, I'd love to hear from you. Please connect with me on our Facebook group, Parenting Then and Now Podcast, via Twitter, PTAN Podcast, or you can email me at sam@ptanpodcast.com.